calls around the world for a boycott of the upcoming Winter Games because of Russia's harsh anti-gay laws. Journalist Peter Fitzsimons is pushing for Australia to pull out of the Games. He joins us now. Peter, it's a big call. I'm a bit torn up about it. I agree with you, the laws are outrageous, but people have been training for these games.
Oh, absolutely.
Their whole
but
lives.
Look, if you've got America together, you've got New Zealand and Australia and England and France, and you went to Russia and said, listen, we're going to pull out unless you do away with these outrageous laws. I cannot believe Russia wouldn't go, you know what? We'll revisit the issue. I mean, there's no point in isolated unilateral action, but if the world as a one went to them and said, this is ridiculous. You cannot on the one hand say, come to Russia, come and ski, come and jump, come and skate. But by God, if we see one of you, the visitors to our nation, or of our own, holding hands or showing affection to the same sex or displaying a rainbow badge, we're going to throw you in jail. The Olympic movement as one has to say, no, we're not going to do that.
Regardless of what happens, it's going to be very intimidating for our gay athletes, isn't it?
Well, I really admire, there's a New Zealand speed skater, Blake Skellerup, and he's gay, and he has said, I am going to march in those games and I'm going to have a rainbow badge and let them do their worst. And or what I think, Australia has a wonderful tradition, a particular moment. Peter Norman in the 1968 Mexico Olympics, he was there in the 200 metres, and the two athletes that had come first and third, they said, we're going to do a black power salute. And he said to them quietly, he was a Salvation Army bloke from Melbourne, and he said to them quietly, I'll stand with you. And he put on a Olympics human rights badge. So the idea was that he stood with them and he supported their right to do that. I think it would be fantastic if Australian athletes, American athletes, New Zealand athletes, gay, not gay, wore a rainbow badge, that en masse the people coming out in the opening ceremony said, we're all with the gay athletes. You, Russia, are not going to divide us up into straight and gay. We're all. And it's a probably apocryphal story, but I love it, that when the Nazis marched into Denmark in the Second World War, their first order was for the Jews to wear the yellow Star of David. The following day, King Christian X comes out and he's wearing a Star of David. He said, we're all Jews, we're all Danes, you're not going to separate us. Wouldn't that be a terrific thing if all the athletes came out and said, we all support the gay athletes?
To me, that would be more powerful and make more of a statement than not going.
Well, look, if it actually came to it, as I say, you couldn't do unilateral action, but if they all went together, if you had a mass movement, because the Olympic movement, you and I last saw each other at the Olympics. I think I was in the hurdles, wasn't I? Were you?
Something like that.
But it's a fantastic.
I mean, discus.
It's fantastic, but there's all this high-blown rhetoric about the brotherhood and sisterhood of man, the Olympic spirit and human rights and all that. Okay, Olympic movement, now let's make it count for something. The Olympic movement is an extraordinarily powerful sporting business movement. Let them use this moment to say to Russia, you're not going to do this. You cannot do this.
Now, what exactly are the rules in Russia? It's about gathering as a group and protesting.
Well, in 1993, they at last decriminalised homosexuality, but then just recently, I think June of this year, they passed these laws threatening jail to anybody that showed support for gay rights, including the wearing of badges or the waving of flags or the showing affection to somebody of the same sex. And the way they framed it is to protect Russian youth. Well, hang on. Are there no gay Russian youths? What about protecting them? What about making them understand it's actually no big deal one way or t'other?
Every Olympics, in most countries, there would be something that you could protest about, wouldn't it? You know, so is it right to ask for a boycott?
Yes, because what you're trying to do is to harness the power of sport for something other than the financial bottom line. I'm a great admirer. Nicky Winmar, AFL footballer, he was being sledged for being an Aboriginal, and he, the famous when he lifts up his jersey and says, I'm black and I'm proud of it. What a fantastic moment. When Ian I've gone blank. The great rugby league player. Suddenly gone blank. Anyway.
Who said it? Robertson.
Ian Robertson.
That's right.
The toughest, hardest footballer that ever
you wouldn't want to come up against him, would you?
He was the toughest there ever was.
Yeah.
And when he said he's gay in 1995, he was the most admired figure in rugby league, and that was worth more than $150 million worth of anti-homophobe ads. The harnessing the power of sport. When we took down apartheid, when Rugby Union World said, we're not going to go and play against the Springboks because you've got a political system that allocates power, political power and human rights according to skin pigmentation. We're not going to do it. Harnessing the power of sport, let's do it for these Olympics.
Yeah, I'd love to see it in the opening ceremony too. Use it some way. Let it not go. Ian Roberts, that's right. All right, Cam, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Layla. Ian Roberts was a fantastic footballer and a trailblazer of his kind. And yeah, I think that there were a lot of good points made there. Hey,